Ming materializes something new, Grand Seiko is as eager for the fall as I am, the Mad One gets a makeover, there's a new-ish Tudor, and more. It's episode 88 of A Week in Watches, a semi-weekly look back at new releases and interesting stories from the watch industry. I'm Zach Weiss, co-founder of Worn & Wound, and I'll be your host today. I've been waiting all summer for it just to end, and that's not just because I don't much like the heat, but also because it's kind of boring. Well, while the heat will remain for a bit longer, the boredom has begun to slow with lots of new releases being announced, some around Geneva Watch Days and others just because September is around the corner. This week's episode is brought to you by the Wind-Up Watch Shop, which has just added several awesome watches into their collection. From Hamilton, they've added the just-released 33 and 38mm khaki field quartz watches. Yes, 33mm, just like the original khaki fields. From Louis Erard, there's the new Metropolis Green, an Art Deco-inspired collaboration with the Instagram famous @TheAurophile. There's also more from Casio, G-Shock, Leica, and others, so head to windupwatchshop.com to check them out. Armin Strom miniaturizes a masterpiece. BLBN's indie star Armin Strom is celebrating 15 years of being a fully integrated manufacturer with the launch of an immensely complicated timepiece that harnesses the phenomena of resonance in a new, compact, and tidy package. Before getting to the watch, it's worth briefly discussing resonance and Armin Strom's work with the mysterious phenomena. Specifically in terms of horology, resonance applies to synchronization of multiple oscillators, i.e. balance wheels, when in close proximity due to the sharing of vibrations. When in sync or in a state of resonance, the oscillators self-regulate for greater chronometric precision. While a concept that dates back to the days of Christian Huygens and was tooled around with by the likes of Breguet, Armin Strom found a novel method of not just achieving resonance, but maintaining the state, which has proven fragile when in a wristwatch. Launched in 2016, their Mirror Force resonance caliber introduced a patented device they call a resonance clutch spring. Visible between two balances running in anti-phase or opposite directions, hence mirror, the pulsating spring acts as a vibration bridge directly linking the balance wheels, allowing for faster synchronization as well as a more robust state of resonance, counteracting external influences. As the caliber features two escapements, gear trains, mainsprings, etc., it's really two movements in one. So in 2018, Armin Strom launched a new watch emphasizing that fact, the dual time resonance, which featured two independently set dials symmetrically opposed about a central 24-hour dial, with escapements positioned above, linked by the resonance clutch spring. A stunning piece of watchmaking, its ingenuity was matched by its scale, coming in at 59mm across, 43.4mm top to bottom, and 15.9mm thick. It also starts at 180,000 Swiss francs in titanium, topping at 280,000 in all sapphire. And that brings us to their newest launch, the Dual Time Resonance GMT, which takes all of the functionality of the previous model, but shrinks it down into a 39mm case with a slender 9.05mm profile. A dramatic decrease that turns this wild concept into an actually wearable watch. Well, for those who can afford it, but more on that in a moment. The Dual Time Resonance GMT features the new ARF 22 caliber, the 18th caliber by Armin Strom, which effectively fits two symmetrically opposed movements as described before, into a 34.25mm diameter and 4.92mm thick design, which includes 231 components. It's also stunning looking with an appropriately symmetrical layout of all components and an anthracite base plate that has been etched with a description of the movement. I love a lot of words on a movement. It's just so cool looking. As can be seen from the dial, the two time displays feature hours, minutes, and independent 24-hour discs with sun and moon motifs. The dials are set off center, below the midline, allowing for the dual balances and resonant clutch spring to be on full display. Each dial has a crown for setting, while the crown F4 is used also to wind the watch. In one additional innovation, the winding system, which is visible at the bottom of the dial located between the barrels, is a three-dimension ratchet system that results in, quote, more precise engagement and disengagement of the winding mechanism, resulting in more consistent performance, more efficient energy transfer, reduced friction and wear on components, smoother operation, and better overall durability for the winding system. Visually, it also acts as a nice counterpoint to the balances at top. The model at launch is called the First Edition and is limited to 25 pieces in white gold cases. Okay, the price. Miraculously, the Dual Time Resonance GMT comes in significantly less than the larger previous version, but don't get your hopes up yet. because it's still priced at 115,000 Swiss francs or 120,700 USD. So a big decrease, yet still an epically expensive timepiece. But this is masterpiece level stuff, so not surprising there. Given that this version is white gold, I do think there's a possibility of a sub six-figure version in steel or titanium, but like 90K or so splitting hairs. Ming embraces the void. Bzz. Ming watches are no strangers to experimentation. In fact, it's a cornerstone of the brand. Since 2021, Ming has been launching watches under their Special Projects Cave category, which are highly limited and generally quite expensive watches that focus on some type of material or manufacturing experimentation. To date, this has led to several unique and potentially industry-first creations, such as their Sapphire Mosaic, which features a 3D structure created within a crystal by a laser, their high ceramic lume material, and the LW.01, the world's lightest production mechanical watch. Their newest cave experiment, the 20.01 Series 3, follows suit by featuring what they believe is the first fused borosilicate dial, which is a type of glass. But just making a glass dial isn't that special in the scheme of things, as there are sapphire dials and aventurine glass dials. So they took things a step further by laser etching 600 precision voids into the glass arrayed in a spiral form that not only vary in width, but height, creating a three-dimensional wave. To take it even further, each void is hand-filled individually with lume by syringe. Of course, a dial is but part of a watch, so to put this creation on display, Ming has brought back their 20.01 chronograph. First introduced in 2022, in an edition of 50, the 20.01 is a central minutes and seconds chronograph powered by the Aggenor, which is an extremely high-end and unique movement in use by only a handful of brands. One of the many interesting things about this movement is that it's essentially donut-shaped, with the central cavity allowing for the use of customized modules, allowing for brands to greatly vary the functionality of the caliber. For example, Singer Watches also uses this movement, but features central seconds, minutes, and hour counters for the chronograph and disc-displayed time read at the 6th position. Ming keeps theirs relatively tame with hour and minute time display and central seconds and minutes counters. For the 20.01 Series 3, the movement, which is now visible from both dial and movement side, is rose gold toned to match the 5N rose gold case elements, including the bezel, lugs, pushers, and crown. The case also features a DLC titanium midsection, adding contrast as well as reducing weight. With the highly complex borosilicate dial below the hands, this is a fairly busy watch. But to keep things somewhat legible, the indices typically found on a dial are actually floating above and also filled with lume. Which does bring me to my only point of criticism of this watch. Hey, it's my job after all. Given the complexity of the glass dial, I can't help but feel like it's a bit lost within the chronograph, perhaps even competing for the spotlight. I feel like a simpler time-only watch could have kept attention on the unique surface, as well as maybe kept the price down just a smidge. And to that end, the Ming 20.01 Series 3 chronograph is priced at 43,500 Swiss francs, or about 51,500 USD, and is limited to 20 pieces, which will be made to order. So a highly exclusive timepiece. Hopefully in the future, they will find a way to make this process more mass manufacturable so it can leave the cave and enter the world. Grand Seiko celebrates fall with pumpkin spice dials. For this next segment, we're actually going to go on location with, well, me, the other day in Manhattan. Check it out. Hey everyone, I'm at the Grand Seiko flagship boutique in New York City, and I've just gotten to see a handful of new watches. And first coming out are a couple of beautiful limited editions that are inspired by the Hotaka mountain range, as well as autumn colors, autumn leaves. And these are part of the celebration of the Spring Drive 20th anniversary. The first one we have here is the SBG Y035. So this features the Elegance case design, which I'm actually a big fan of personally. It's a very beautiful dressy design, very thin, has more of sort of rounded curves than a lot of their other watches, as well as sort of more vintagey sort of domed crystal. It is accented with a couple of rose gold details, which are really nice to see and a little different. So you have a rose gold logo here, as well as a rose gold second hand, and it comes on this dark brown alligator strap. This one is limited to 700 units and is priced at $8,500. and it will be available beginning in November. So available as of September 1st, which is right before you're watching this, is the SBGA 499. This is also part of the Elegance line, though obviously has a different case shape from the previous model. And this one also has the 9R65 automatic spring drive movement in it, which is more of the workhorse spring drive movement, if you will, with a power reserve on the front of the dial. This model also has this incredible sort of deep, rusty autumn color, but without the texture, but it has a beautiful sort of like lacquer luster to it, and it's sort of like a rose gold accent on this as well, but underneath the power reserve, which I don't know, has a pretty cool little pop of color there, as well as a rose gold logo on it. The case on this one is 40.2 millimeters, and it obviously features the bracelet as well. This model is priced at $5,900 and is limited to 1,300 units. Welcome back. I sure hope I did a good job explaining the new Grand Seiko releases, though I wish I had thought of a pumpkin spice joke when we were recording it. Oh well. Anyway, there's more to come from Grand Seiko soon, and let me tell you, I am very excited about it. The Mad 1 gets an overhaul and a new letter. Oh, the Mad 1, the fidget spinner come hype beast wristwatch phenomena that gets owners ever so slightly closer to the world of MB&F, is getting its first true overhaul in 3 years. For those unfamiliar with the project, the Mad 1 was created by MB&F as an affordable thank you to brand supporters, i.e. customers, suppliers, media, etc., but not as a production watch. It featured a bit of the whimsy and cleverness of MB&F by taking a Miyota movement, flipping it upside down so the rotor can be seen spinning, and then told the time via cylinders that were visible through the case side, but with a price tag closer to $3K than $300K. It caused quite a stir, prompting a lot of angry FOMO from collectors, so they did a second edition, and then a third, and a fourth, and maybe a fifth, I honestly can't quite recall, each available only through lottery. The differences between them were largely in their coloration, though one was a collaboration with an artist that was more of a visual departure. Well, given the success of the project, if unintended, they've decided to make some refinements, all of which can be described by the letter S. First is slimmer. The original Mad 1 watches came in at a towering 18.8 millimeters tall. I never really heard people complain, as the watch is such a novelty that the height didn't really seem to factor, but certainly shaving it down couldn't hurt. The Mad 1 S is now 15 millimeters, so thick, but less so. The second S pertains to the first, single cylinder. In reducing the height, they cut the minute cylinder, leaving just the hour cylinder, but with additional marks for the quarter hour. This definitely makes the watch a bit less legible, though I suppose one could estimate the time within a few minutes like on most one-handed watches. The last S is for Swiss. All previous versions of the Mad 1 used Miyota 9000 series movements. Now they are powered by the La Joux-Perret G101. While I liked seeing the Miyota movement get the respect it deserves from snobs by being used in the Mad 1, switching to the G101 does make sense given the Swissness of the brand and that it has an increased power reserve. It's also very, very similar to the Miyota 9000 architecturally, and both are owned by Citizen Group. So, how do you get one? Well, it's still a raffle, but this time with some new guardrails. To enter, head to shop.madgallery.ch by midnight Central European Time, Monday, September 2nd, 2024, tomorrow, and add the watch to your cart. Check out, and a fee in the amount of the full price will be held on your card. You are agreeing at this point that if you are selected, you are purchasing the watch, no backing out. So only do it if you really mean it. This is intended to prevent bots and flippers from entering. Type Mad 1 into Chrono 24, and you'll see that there are many on the market at any given moment, all hoping for over retail, which, considering how many there are, is likely unachievable. Should you be selected, watches will begin delivery in September and continue until April of 2025. The Mad 1S is limited to 1,500 units and is priced at 2,900 Swiss francs, or about 3,500 USD. Studio Underd0g and Moser share their mutual passion fruit. Okay, file this one under unexpected. And I believe an industry first, a microbrand darling and a haute indie have teamed up to collaborate on a duo of watches based around a single theme, passion fruit, which is a visual metaphor for their mutual watchmaking passion. Representing the microbrands is England's Studio Underd0g, who are known for their whimsical approach to watch design, as recently demonstrated by their pizza watches. And for the high end is Moser & C, who combine haute movements and precious metals with a penchant for minimalism and a peculiar sense of humor. Sticking to the theme, Both brands develop watches with colors and textures inspired by the intensely flavored tropical delight, resulting in watches with intense purple and gold tones, as well as gradients and fibrous surfaces. Studio Underdog's watch, called the 03 series Passion Fruit, is a new model for the brand. A 38mm mono-pusher big-eye chronograph, unlike previous models which had seagull movements, these feature Sellita SW510 automatics, so they're first Swiss chronographs. The dial of the watch is an ombre gold with an unmarked second subdial and a deep purplish magenta minutes dial. The purple is repeated on the chapter ring, which features a tachometer. Without branding, this is definitely a more restrained model for the Underdog. Sticking to their high-end guns, Moser based theirs on the Endeavour Perpetual Calendar. In Moser's style, the dial lacks markings and uses a similar coloring methodology as the Studio Underdog, with a central golden area that is fume enamel over a hammered 18-karat gold base, sitting on top of a purple lacquered surface. This is an exciting project. We have seen watch brands collaborate before, such as Christopher Ward and Fears or Louis Aurard and Vianney Halter, but never quite this way, where two watches were produced around a single concept at the price points of the respective brands, conceptually and visually tying the two types of watchmaking together. It says a lot about where the industry is right now, both that microbrands are meant to be revered and that haute indies appreciate the enthusiasm of a new audience and market. Hopefully, we'll see more communication and collaboration between these segments in the future. With that said, there is a bit of a caveat to this project. As you might have noticed, I haven't mentioned pricing or availability yet. Well, they are limited to 100 units and only sold together for the decidedly not micro price of $64,900. This undermines the Underdog a bit, as I feel the strength in this project would have been to allow for Studio Underdog fans to have a watch that has something to do with Moser and vice versa, likely with a handful of sets sold for completionists. As is, it feels like a bit of a novelty meant for Moser customers. Though what I said before about brands like this working together and what it means for the industry holds true-ish. I'm not really sure. And finally, a quick stop in Tudor Town. Generally speaking, a slightly new colorway of an existing line of watches with little other differences isn't the most newsworthy, but when Tudor does it, or I guess Grand Seiko, it's worth at least a mention because, hey, who doesn't like a Tudor? The Tudor Black Bay Chrono Blue Boutique Edition is exactly what it sounds like. Tudor took the now several years old Black Bay Chrono and made it mostly blue. The dial is an attractive medium blue with a satin sunray finish. The anodized bezel matches. Adding some contrast, the subdials are silver, which looks pretty fantastic. Hands and dial furniture are also silver, which makes sense. Semi-new is the 5-link bracelet with T-fit clasp, which they unveiled on the elusive Black Bay Chrono Pink last year, and that just about wraps it up. And hey, it's a nice looking watch and a logical line continuation. But as the Black Bay Chrono is literally several years old, I do think a broader refresh is in order, especially considering Tudor has begun rolling out their master chronometer Black Bays. The Black Bay Chrono Blue is priced at $5,675 and is available only at Tudor boutiques. And that's it for episode 88 of A Week in Watches. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to check out wornaround.com daily for more great watch content. We'll see you next time.